You find one old note, 10,000, is circulating around the village, rotating around. From a boda guy to the one of chapati, to the other one of simsimu, to the other one. Economies grow and flourish when they export. Because when we export, we fetch the dollars and bring them home. The economy becomes larger, everybody becomes richer. So that's what the private sector would want. Those with the capacity to produce and export, government is here to support you. The youth, you were told by the minister that you need to skill. And opportunities now are there. We have skilling hubs. There is no any excuse anymore in Uganda for someone to remain in the situation they are in. You know, poverty is not ascribed. Poverty is not inherited. No, and passed on. Why America became so dominant in the world, they have what they call American dream. The American dream is simple. Every generation must be better off than their parents. Please, whoever has a child, make sure that that child is better than you in education, in income, in skills, and so on. But don't say, oh, you are my daughter, oh, my son. Yeah, come. We are going to hunt together. Hunting some wild animal. One rat, they chase it the whole day. Let that child go to school. Let that child now become a zero grazer. Instead of chasing a rat, now he's grazing a pheasant. That generation now is better than the other. That's what we are talking of, the youth. Please take advantage, innovate. Now the government has provided you with a number of opportunities. Let's take advantage of them instead of treating our anger. The women and mothers, the minister told you, of course, what the budget is holding. But in particular, me, I talk on the economics part, the business part. We have a lot of opportunities for women entrepreneurs. You want to sell something, you want to do something, government has come with not only resources, but also business development services to support the women-run businesses in understanding how to make money. And also to the elderly. The elderly. Government is supporting them. Who has been left out? Julius. Every Ugandan is in the budget. That's the budget which we want to see. The elderly, the people with the disability, and all other vulnerable groups, they are all included in here, in the budget. Everybody has some opportunity in there to take advantage of. I wish to thank the colleagues, the partners we've worked with. You have made this budget, Arthur and Julius, and where's Data Network, where's Siatini, and all our colleagues. You have really made this budget by always reminding us in wherever we interact. I want to assure you one thing, government is listening, government is hearing what you are saying, and is going to implement your proposals. With that, I take the honor and the privilege which was given to me by my minister to declare officially this dialogue open, and wishing you very good deliberations.
Can we give another big round of applause to the PSST as he comes to launch the citizens
It's called here.
Huh? Yes.
Feedback.
Feedback.
Ladies and gentlemen, by virtue of the authority which has been entrusted with me, I take the honor to launch the Citizen Feedback Platform. So that it can inform, engage, and influence all of us. I thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. PSST, for performing those functions that I've just performed. In a short while, we will be inviting a panel, sit here, and continue to dig into the budget for the financial year 2024-2025. But the PSST has agreed, has kindly agreed to take a few questions from us. So we'll allow him that opportunity, we'll allow you that opportunity to ask a few questions to him so that we can free him should he decide to leave. These are not small promises he's been making on behalf of government. He needs to work doubly hard to make sure that each one of us is in this budget, that we are represented and we can see ourselves there. So let me pick random a few questions. Can I have some people with microphones to pick up those comments? I am going to take strictly 4. So one is there, a second one is there, you're causing me trouble. A second one is there, Deep is here, I have some 3 ladies there, and then I'll pick one from here. That's already above 4. So let's start, we'll see how we manage this. Let me pick the first one there, yes. Your name, which organization, and your question. Just go straight to the point.
Thank you, Charles, and good afternoon, Ugandans. My name is Matsiko Kahunga. I come from the Inclusive Policy Dialogue. My question to PSST and basically to government and East African leaders, where is East Africa in this budget?
Thank you.
Because there are projects like standard gauge railway, electric vehicles, even things as innocent as textiles and leather, which we can economically do better at regional level. But the only ritual we have is budgets read on the same day. Kila kitu kinaishia hapo. What happens?
Thank you. Let me have the gentleman here, I think. Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Anda Maswale. I represent DO Madiokolo. Mine is a comment. As per the district, Madiokolo is a hosting refugee district. The comment goes like this. Madiokolo has 7 primary schools, 7 government primary schools, and the enrollment of the primary schools goes like it is 93,582. Currently, we have 670 teachers. The staffing gap is 1,096. So my appeal to the minister and the PS is that we have performed poorly in the whole country. We are the second last. We only gave 7 first graders and 200 second graders. So our situation as the Madiokolo is worst in the whole country. Therefore, an affirmative action should be put to recruit more teachers for Madiokolo. I beg to submit.
Thank you. That's a comment, so we'll let that pass. Can I have the microphone come to DP here? DP. And then I'll come and pick 2 from there, and then he saved me because he made a comment.
I think ST is to be congratulated, and the ministry for expounding on this budget. It now means that we need to refocus the discussion and take the discussion deeper as civil society. I like the idea that you're going to borrow domestically and more so from the banks. And the criticism we've always had was at the end of every year, those who are posting profits is the banks and telecommunication companies. So the economy is growing more in the banks. It looks like we are here to make the banks richer. And because when you see the abnormal profits they post at the end of the year, and because we are now, they collect from all sectors of society, they mobilize deposits, but when it comes to borrowing, they say you are not credit worthy. They only give it to the rich. But now, I like the way you're getting money from there and giving to PDM, giving to UDB to give to manufacturers, getting money from there at lower rates. Because for them, they have been taking your bonds and those bonds that government is giving, and they go and play golf. They don't go to lend to production sectors. So I think you need to be congratulated for restructuring this whole thing and bringing money from there and putting where it should be. Now the question then is, when you are restructuring, why is this budget not accompanied by certain austerity measures? Why is government still living large and with a big size of parliament, and you see what they are doing, with cabinet? So I'm happy about the sirens going down and actually reduce the sirens and those with big convoys to ambulances, to fire brigades, to the presidency. Not every what do they call them? There's Dick and Harry, I don't know Harrying where. So I think it's important to start to cut in those areas where leakages have been going to, so that then these reforms you're causing, with also downsizing of government, if you like, particularly those wastage areas, could actually reinforce this more better. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, DP. I have ladies there. 3 ladies. I'm going to jump over the gentleman there. But let me have the ladies. There's some ladies there. Mr. PSST, if I could add to what DP was asking, what is your plan as a ministry and the government to reduce the cost of borrowing for a Julius Mukunda, for Anatha Beinomicha, on their own in commercial banks? Because you were competing in the same market space. And I think to add to his point, most of the banks, I think out of 25, 21 are foreign banks. They are taking the money out of the country. So they are not attracting dollars into the economy. They are actually taking our money out. And we don't see ourselves getting located in there. If we cannot access PDM because we are in air conditioning, and yet the commercial banks are squeezing us out with crazy interest rates. Yes, let me have the ladies there.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm called Mkwase Adrian, CS Bagi, Sinjilo District. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramadan. My question only goes to the money you've just mentioned for women. So it will be better if at least we get the criteria how to get that money. Thank you.
Okay, that's not a question, a comment. We'll pick it up. There's some 3 ladies there, and then we'll see if I can come back here, but I first pick this hand there and that hand.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. I'm Hajat Fatuma Chomhanj from Shema District, and my question goes to the PSST. I would like to know what is the government planning to do to roads, the UNRWA roads in the districts. Take an example of Shema. All the UNRWA roads that we have are impassable, and it is affecting marketing of agricultural products, whereby women, orphans are engaged, and they cannot access markets. For example, as of now, in Shema District, a bunch of matoke is in between 2,000 and 4,000. And we imagine a bar of soap is in between 5,000 and 6,000. How much money does this woman need to buy 2 bars of soap and sugar to support his or her family?
Thank you.
Another issue goes to the PDM. I'm looking at the challenges you're experiencing as far as PDM funds are concerned. Mr. PS, we have an issue whereby if Fatuma has lost his or her phone her phone number, and she manages to get another contact, she cannot get the money there on and on. They have to go up to the central government to see that the challenges are rectified at the national level. Can't we have those simple challenges be worked on by the districts if you can give them the mandate to address them?
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a lady behind you. Let me pick her hand. Yes, that lady at the last table.
Thank you very much. My name is Akandinda Evelyn from MUBS Economic Forum. And my question goes to the PSST. About the budget, we have domestic borrowing from the government contributing 8.9 billion shillings. That is the 12% of the domestic borrowing. And because the government signed the anti-homosexuality bill, we have seen the World Bank and the IMF refusing to give money to the government. That means it is going to come back to the economy to borrow, and maybe the government is applying for the bilateral commercial lenders, of which you know that the bilateral commercial lenders outside the country give loans at high interest rate. And the PSST has been saying we are going to acquire loans. Yes, we are going to acquire loans, but at how much interest rates? And when we come back to the Uganda's economy, when the government comes into domestic borrowing, it is competing with the private sector. We have been hearing the minister saying that Uganda is a basement of high private investment. When the government starts domestic borrowing, that means it is discouraging private investment because there is no money to give the private investors to invest into the country. So I'm asking the PSST to kindly explain to me how we shall counterbalance the private investment and then the government expenditure and borrowing from the domestic. Then another one is about fuel.
I'm afraid if I take many questions from one person, I deny others an opportunity to ask. I'm going to take only 2 questions from this side, and because I need to release him to go. So let me pick 2 questions from here. Whoever has a microphone there, choose 2 people. Keep it brief.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Bonnie Kagawa, and I'm coming from the tourism industry, but also teach at MUBS. So I'm a good friend to the PSST. I run a safari company called Likana Safaris Uganda. Mr. PSST, my worry is on the tourism marketing of a destination called Uganda. I was in Zambia around April. Every government official, anyone coming from any good office in Zambia, when he's talking, invites everybody to visit Zambia. The same applied to those guys that were coming from Namibia. They have changed their economies using tourism. The money that you cut from the travel abroad, how I wish you tell those guys you're going to give them money next to go to China, Asia, Europe for benchmark, for research. Can they invite people, market our destination to visit Uganda?
Thank you.
Mr. PSST, we are incurring a lot of money in marketing Uganda as a destination, yet we are contributing a lot to this economy. How I wish they can go to UTB, pick the flash or a flyer with the Q mark to scan and see the destination called Uganda.
Thank you.
We are selling gorilla permits beginning July at $800 to any foreign non-resident, seeing gorilla for 1 hour. That's a game changer. I saw it among the ATMs. We can change this economy just using tourism. $500 billion economy that PSST you're looking for, you'll see it in only 2 years if you prioritize marketing Uganda as a destination. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me have someone there. Someone else. Pick whoever you want to pick. I'll not dictate.
Thank you so much, the PS and the entire team. One, someone talked about infrastructure development. Who has ever asked himself why we have high prices of fuel in Uganda? Have you ever asked yourself? I was in Kenya last week and I was asking you people, why is your fuel prices high? And they gave me reasons. I didn't have reasons to why we have high prices of fuel in Uganda. You get? You are telling me the prices of fuel are high here because, one, we have the 6-lane road transport from Nairobi to Mombasa. So the money they added on the fuel was to finance the road debt. Then from Nairobi, Mombasa to Nairobi, Busia. Here, money is being eaten by big people. So what can we do? Then the other thing, the PS talked about money to develop people in terms of adding value. But we have a case, UDB. What are the criteria to get this money? He talks about having 500 acres of land. But that is not the case we would wish to have. Why don't you just say, like in my part of Soga, people have been growing sugarcane. From 2019, we had an engagement at the Office of the President. Can we help the common people growing sugarcane to have their own factory? Up to now, we have never gotten any feedback from the government. So what are we saying? Can we organize the communities who are digging small-scale agriculture to get together so that they can have this kind of money and in a not yet bureaucratic process?
Do you want that included in the PSST's budget? Because we are asking about the budget.
No, it is a program because now...
Okay.
Yes.
It's a proposal you're making.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm afraid we can't take more. PSST are asking, if tourism is your number 2 pillar, 400 billion, really? Thank you.
I'm going to start with his. We have stopped that debate in Uganda of saying now you have allocated 418 billion, and that is the tourism money. Mr. Mwangusha and the entire clan and friends, the 400 is the direct investment in tourism, but tourism is a multi-sectoral business. My student there, Kagava, was one of my best students. He's an A student, that guy, by the way. He's an A student. I'm glad that now you are in the trenches of making money. We will tell you that for tourism to work, you don't only need marketing and branding and the tour travels and the hotels and the animals where they are going to watch. But you need a multitude of things. And these ones we expressed them in the budget because we carried out a clear computation. And a total of about 1.6 trillion shillings is actually going to support tourism. We are going to build a number of tourism roads. These days, why you see tourism earnings increasing, it's not by chance or by just the tour guys who think that, but a number of things have happened in the recent years. Some of those roads you call oil roads are tourism roads. When you go to Murchison Falls, you go down to Queen Elizabeth, you now watch elephants on tarmac. I have myself, I have a photograph with a selfie with an elephant on tarmac. That improves tourism when transport is good. When you go to these tourism destinations, you need good communication. You need internet, because as you take a selfie, Angusha, you want to send it to your loved ones to see how cool Uganda is. Now, that internet is not in the tourism budget, but it is somewhere. When we lost two tourists in one of the points in Kasese there to these terrorists, you know what the damage it caused. So we have to secure the tourism destinations. That money we invest in the extra security of the tourists is also part of tourism, although we shall not budget it in the program of tourism. When we build the different infrastructure supporting the hospitality industry. By the way, if you're Ugandan and you are building a 5-star hotel, you don't pay tax. All these hotel things you do, we support you as government. We have even reached a point where we support some to get expatriates, those who are coming, to help them putting together. Because you know, everywhere is different. What we call a tacit knowledge is not transferable. Some of the knowledge required to put together a nice room for someone to sleep in a 5-star hotel requires some people to be thrown in, and we are supporting them. All of that is tourism. We are supporting tourism. So the budget, the correct number from today, because you are a very important Ugandan with a voice, next year we have invested in tourism directly 418 billion and indirectly 1.6 trillion. So you have about 2 trillion shillings to support the tourism sector. Now, I will turn to Mr. Masiko. Where is East Africa in this budget? Fantastic question. We actually, these days, we don't budget in our smaller countries. We sit at Arusha, we have 3 major meetings. A meeting of technical people sits, and they discuss on the policy framework in which we budget. Then the permanent secretaries will go and sit of all the East African countries, 7 of them. And then the ministers of finance, they come. That's why you see these budgets, we read them on the same day at the same hour. And the messages are synchronized. They are not very far away from each other. They are similar strategy. We agree on strategy. I wanted you to know that we are budgeting together. But also we are working on a number of regional projects in ESC, regional infrastructure, response, our green financing aspects are now agreed on, and we are working together with our colleagues in the region, because the environment is a regional public good. If Uganda protects the environment but Kenya doesn't, you will find that Uganda actually will not benefit from its effort. We need to work together. If there is a lot of CO2 being muted out somewhere in another neighbor or here in Uganda, then you are affecting also. So we are discussing all of that. But I know that this question of yours is deeper than these simple answers. We have even industrial policy for the region, so that we stop this tendency of sitting in our small rooms to carry out unilateral industrial policy initiatives. That's why you see we have these non-tariff barriers, because we are producing the same things, all of us, some beans with the weevils, some maize, some this and that. We want to start now discussing industrial policy at ESC. When we are adding value to certain products, we say Uganda concentrate on this, Kenya on this, Tanzania on this, and so the president has been very clear on this. Some have been asking the president to stop certain products from coming from other countries. And he said, no, we can't do that because it will be a punishment to Ugandans. I've taken note of your appeal. Honorable David Pulcol, Senior, thank you for the feedback. The profitability of banks, although I wouldn't want anyone to wish a business to make losses, I wish businesses to make money, but they make money reasonably. I think I've always been very clear. I've talked to bankers severally. Do I have a banker in the room? Don't score own goals. When the banks keep interest rates so high, they score own goals. How? They create what we call adverse selection in economics. Only the bad risks will go for that money. People who know that at the point when they're applying for the money, they are not going to pay back. They are likely to be the ones to apply. But two, even those good ones, like Honorable Pulcol, who have the good business idea, they want to pay back the money, because of the high interest rates, they engage in what we call moral hazard. They change behavior by changing business idea. You applied for the loan for poultry, but when you get the money, because of very high interest rates, you calculate the margins are not coming out. You say, why don't I try gold from Congo? Let me purchase gold from Congo. And you speculate on fake gold. You realize later that they sold you brown soil, not gold. And then the banker now has failed to get the money back. Why? Because you were trying to look for an activity which will give you higher margins to pay the bank and also to remain with some money. And this is the reason why in most cases, societies with the high interest rates have also higher non-performing loans. And it's something we are working on in Uganda by, first of all, addressing the reasons why banks charge high interest rates. They also charge high interest rates because the cost of money is high. You Ugandans, you don't want to save longer term. You put your money in current accounts and savings accounts with ATM card. You save in the morning, you withdraw in the afternoon. And now this bank has to lend this money to a manufacturer. It becomes very difficult. We are addressing the issue of traceability of Ugandans. Ugandans were not very traceable a few years ago. A Ugandan disappears from you, you get into trouble. Now we are traceable. The national ID with its biometric power makes us traceable. And this is likely to reduce the overall cost. Business registration and the management is also something we are addressing. All of these factors combined with the government also reducing on borrowing domestically, which is the main concern of Mwangusha, we shall be able to reduce the lending rates. And I will come to address your concern as well. On the hostility measures, Senior, I don't want that word, hostility. It's not good economics. But also we are trying to control government spending. I think that's what you mean. We are controlling government spending, number one, by rationalizing government itself. We are rationalizing ourselves. I think you've had some debates in Parliament recently. They approved 23 agencies which are going to be rationalized. We are just waiting for His Excellency the President to assent to the law and we implement 23 of them. There are 17 others which we are returning to Parliament for discussion and approval. They had some challenges, but we are returning them. On top of that, we are rationalizing within the expenditure of government. Just before I came here, I was working on a paper. And you find that consumptive budget has gone down by nearly 42% in the last 4 years. The consumptive budget, these are activities like workshops and seminars, entertainment, things like travel abroad, things like allowances, things like fuel and so on, cars, buying cars. These things I've been talking about to them. People don't believe in what I say. Sometimes, I don't know why. I am the one with the numbers. I've given you these numbers. In Uganda, we don't lie, especially in government. But someone is, no, I want to tell you, for example, in 2020-21, the total budget in those areas I've mentioned, from allowances to the about 18 items, was 3.7 trillion shillings. In this budget the ministers read, those items have now 2.4 trillion. We have trimmed them. The budget is bigger now, almost twice than the budget of 2020-21, but the consumptives have gone down. But still, there is wastage in the government. There is wastage in the way people have been buying vehicles and driving them, in the way people have been spending taxpayers' money. I'm so happy with media, social media, mainstream media, for helping us. And this is always what I say, that the best way to ensure public good is really to have a vibrant civil society and social media. Because, I mean media, not necessarily social media. Social media, sometimes it says a lot of wrong things. But policy makers. I want to tell you, in the government, we are very busy. And also very distracted with the key. Every moment you have to take certain decisions, and it requires a lot of concern. So when you bring to attention some of these things, you help us. And I want to tell you, just watch and see what will happen to wasters of public resources. Mwangusha, crowd out effect is on your lips. Yeah. Fundamentally, government should not crowd out, both in terms of financial crowd out effect and real resource crowd out. Because we need these resources to be with the private sector. That's why in government, we really manage the yield curve, what we call the yield curve, the rate at which we are borrowing this money. In a government, we don't borrow money at any cost, no. There are banks, whenever we bring our paper, you know these papers are auctioned to the best bidder. You might find that the financial institutions are saying, we are giving you today 500 billion. 1 year bond, we shall give, or treasury bill, we shall give it to you at 12%. If we see that the yield curve is going to be skewed in such a way that it will disadvantage the market, we don't take that money. That's what we do in the government. And as a result of that, if we went and looked at the yield curve, I'm sure it is in the background to the budget, which is already on our website. Look at it. You will see that it has plateaued in the last 4 years. It has plateaued and flattened, which shows you that government has taken only that money which perhaps the private sector was not taking from the banks, because the banks also have about 27 trillion shillings. Government is going to take about 8 of that. The rest, and where does government take the money? It takes it with this hand, puts it in this hand, and hands it over to the private sector. I would want us really to understand how the economy works. Government does not keep money somewhere. Government does not spend money unless it is spending it on the private sector. That's how we spend the money. I can get the money in this hand and put it in this hand and give it to UDB. And then UDB gives it to you. Put it in this hand and give it to the agricultural farms to irrigate. And then they support the private sector with the low-cost water for irrigation. So we are managing very well, and don't be worried of crowd-out effect. The banks will lend you the money. They have the money to lend to you. Isinjiro, I didn't get your name. I think you were talking about how to get the money for women. This money is going to pass through different financial institutions, but the address for it is going to be PSFU, Private Sector Foundation Uganda, and Ministry of Gender. They are going to guide all of you, the country, on how to utilize these resources. Government, we don't implement, we pass through those strategic partners who can reach you very well. Shema, the UNRWA roads are impassable. We are going to fix them. Don't worry. We are going to fix them. Each district now has $1 billion shillings. In Shema, you have $1 billion shillings to fix those small roads which connect to the main road, the one which brings the Chitoche to Kampala. But where the Chitoche comes from, that impassable road is going to be worked on by the local authorities. The PDM, you are saying you have challenges and you need to sort them at a local level. Definitely. These days you don't need even to have a lot of challenges, because this money is now almost like a mobile money. When you sit down as a parish, and the beauty with the parish model, there are no elites. These people who used to go and tell you, come here, then first go for a seminar, they divert you. You now have the Private Sector Foundation Uganda to provide BDS, Business Development Services. And then our own team is only to support you in understanding the procedure, and also to make you accountable. Because this is a grant to your circle, but not a grant to you. To you it is a loan. You as the last mile beneficiary, you must pay back to the circle, and so that the circle can evolve the money around. Now you'll find that we had a challenge before with the banks and other middlemen coming in. With the technology now, we said no, let all those middlemen go away. The money now comes from Treasury. Next week I'm sending the last batch. From Treasury to the beneficiary. And that beneficiary is having a phone with that application called Wendy. And you can only receive it when you have registered with your circle and the circle has submitted. So the entire bank is at the parish there. I don't know why you are having any challenges with the middlemen. I will find out from you the exact challenge and feed it to our team to ensure that they sort it out if it is still happening. The MOOBS Economic Forum, I didn't get your name, but you know, I founded the MOOBS Economic Forum. Thank you very much for carrying the flag. You are saying World Bank, you have some fears. World Bank might not give money to government. Number one, World Bank is giving money to us. In that budget you are having, World Bank is funding a portfolio of more than $1 billion. $1 billion. More than 3.78 trillion shillings. World Bank funded projects in agriculture, in roads, in education, in water, both for irrigation, mainly for irrigation, and several others. So the worry of Anti-Homosexuality Act causing problems, that one we have been handling it. Leave it with us. We know better how to handle it, and I want to tell you, we are progressing very well in addressing that worry. But also you feared that we might now end up borrowing money at commercial rates. No, of course we have some commercial loans for commercial related projects, like in oil and gas. We have our hiccup, they are going to borrow some money. We have our refinery, we shall borrow money at commercial rate, and so on. But and also we have some small budget support. But I want to assure you that in Uganda we don't, as I told you already, we don't borrow money at any cost. Just this year, we cancelled the borrowing which Parliament had approved of $414 million. We cancelled it. We said we are not going to borrow this money. Why? Because it was expensive. The rates were high, 8%. 8%. Government does not borrow at 8%. So we said, let us fit within the resource we have. And as you can see, the year is ending in the next 2 weeks. Actually, this week and next week. The year is gone. And the sky has not fallen down because we didn't borrow $400 million. Don't worry. We don't in Uganda borrow money, which is very expensive. Kagaba, Kagaba from the classroom to tour. Who's calling foreigners to visit Uganda? Who's inviting them? You have a very good point. Of course, by the way, the people of Uganda are doing a very good job. Most of the foreigners think you are the most hospitable people in the world. And they love it, coming to Uganda. And wherever we are out there of the country, I want to assure you, the Ugandans are doing the marketing for you. And also, we have the various embassies. Now we have supported them further. In this very budget, we have resources for 10 of them. The key 10 strategic embassies, those missions abroad. They are going to do 3 things. Market Uganda for tourism, get markets for our exports, and also market Uganda for investment, those investors. And we are signing very good KPIs with them. You don't deliver, you are not my accounting office anymore, and you refund the money. UTB is also being supported to market Uganda, brand Uganda. But also we had a conversation recently with you, the private sector, on how best we could support the marketing of Uganda. Finally, the high fuel prices. Someone talked of high fuel prices. Number one, we are building the infrastructure now. We are starting our standard gauge railway. The fuel will get off the roads. We already have revamped our meter gauge railway. I think you see the railway line here is no longer the one you used to know, the one you studied in history when lions were eating the Indian coolies. The railway has been revamped. The wagons are new. People are enjoying some ride. The other day they were going to watch football in Nambole. And we are going to now work on the Gulu, Tororo Gulu. We are working on it already. We want to complete it this coming financial year. But those are stopgap measures. The big one is the SGR, which we are building. But on top of that, we are building a fuel pipeline from Kenya to Uganda. Recently, we had His Excellency, the President, was hosted with us in Kenya, and we agreed on the pipeline, which is going to run through here up to DR Congo to transport refined products. But it will be built in such a way that it can also reverse. It can take our refined products when they are ready in the future. So we hope that in the near future, the fuel prices will reduce, but also immediate, we have worked on a good deal of importing our petroleum products directly. We are removing a middleman. It's going to be like a PDM money. You remember a few years ago, whenever you could appear here, people would be on PDM money is nowhere. PDM money is being eaten by so and so. Now, PDM money goes direct into the pockets of the beneficiary. No middleman. That's the same we are going to do with the fuel. Direct from the supplier in Kuwait or Saudi Arabia to Kampala. No middleman. And that will, we hope, it will bring down some of the margins and the prices in the future. Therefore, and I don't want to talk about oil and gas, which is coming, our own, because in Uganda we already escaped Dutch disease. The oil will be bonus. We are not planning on it so much. But I want to tell you that also will be good money coming, as the President has already guided strictly for infrastructure development and those areas which are going to create more value for the well-being of Ugandans. So the future is bright, ladies and gentlemen. Ugandan future is bright. Just do one thing, stay alive. Don't die. Make sure that you are alive. The next few years to come, you are going to see what will happen. I thank you.
Can we do that again? Thank you. Can I just one request for the PSST? Just one request, one small request. For you to stand here, in the middle here. I invite the EDs of the two organizations that brought this, this dialogue together, together with my panelists, Ali Tagole, Angela Kasule Nambowe, Mbazira Robert, Josephat Nwabeine. Please come and stand and take a photo with the PSST. Can I have the ED Oxfam also come and join? Oxfam, if you can also join with just a DP. DP should join this photo. Yes, I would wish to have. Mamtaz, please join. Yes, budget monitoring unit of Ministry of Finance, please come and join Madam Kakande. Come and join. Okay. Apologies for whoever has missed out of the photo opportunity. But thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's give another round of applause to the PSST. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion. Thank you for sharing with us. We appreciate and don't take this for granted. Thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, one, apologies. I have overshot my time badly. I apologize for that. There is tea outside. We need to take a short time. Specific questions, we engage 20 minutes for questions, 10 minutes for interaction with the audience, and we'll be out of here in the next 30 minutes, if you'll permit me. May I now invite the following to come and constitute our panel. Mr. Ali Tagole is Assistant Commissioner, Budget Policy and Evaluation. Please come and take a seat here. Ms. Angela Kasule Nabwowe, Executive Director at ISA. Please come and take a seat here. Mr. Mbazira Robert, Senior Tax Manager, Ernst & Young. Please come and take up a seat here. And last but not least, Mr. Josephat Nwabeine, who is Acting Director Stakeholder Engagement at OAG. Please come and take up a seat here. Okay, a few questions from me, and I'll run around the panel, ask a few questions, you provide an answer, we'll pick some feedback from the audience. Let me start, Minister of Finance. Mr. Tagole, I want to start with you. We listened to the budget presentation. Before it, we had the State of the Nation address, and the PSST has gone through that budget, I think, in quite good detail. We're still asking a question as citizens. What explains a 20 trillion jump in the budget this financial year? You moved from 52 trillion to 72 trillion. The bulk of that money is going to be financed through borrowing. What explains that? Press the microphone on your table before you speak. It turns green, then you can speak to us. Or on the stand. Yes, for you. Huh? For Mr. Tagole. Yes, please go ahead. Turn it yourself. Press that button. Turn it green. There's a button, a small button, where you see the red, where you see the light, the flashing light. There's a button there. Press, yes. Yes, now you can speak to us.
So, time for answering?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, fine. Thank you, moderator, for the question, and our dear participants for joining us for this dialogue. As you've indicated, you said we jumped from 58 to about 72.136. Majorly, there are two components in there. It was a 13 point something trillion But one of the major components in there is to do with the Bank of Uganda redemptions. In the previous engagements, you were pointing out to the high unpaid redemptions. And actually, when you are presenting the paper here on the budget, where you indicated the date being 97 trillion. Within that 97, there was a redemption of about 7.7 trillion.
Could you explain redemption to break it down?
To the ordinary person? Yes. Fine, thank you. Members, redemption, you know, when the government is financially constrained, in the event that revenues are not coming in as projected, we normally get what the ordinary banking sector refers to as advance. So we get some money from Bank of Uganda. We provide the services on the arrangement that when the revenue comes in from Uganda Revenue Authority, we reimburse. Now, but there are scenarios where you get expecting Uganda Revenue Authority to give us, but it also gets constrained. For example, this year, they have already declared a shortfall of about 1.9 trillion. You get it? So if I was banking on that 1.9, that means by 30th June, I'll be unable to pay that money to Bank of Uganda. So we sat down and agreed on a strategy. Within that money, we have a 7.7, which was converted to securities. So we are going to issue securities to Bank of Uganda. So what we budget for is only interest on those security papers. So ideally, 7.7 is not hard cash that we are going to pick from the market. We are just exchanging instruments in lieu of the overdue reimbursements to Bank of Uganda.
Let me squeeze in another quick question there.
Yes.
You just told us that Uganda Revenue Authority had a shortfall.
It is projecting a shortfall
yes,
for
it's
this
projecting
year.
a shortfall for this financial year
Of 1.9.
of almost 2 trillion shillings.
Yes, yes.
You have increased the target. I don't understand. If I'm not collecting what you told me to collect, I'm projecting I'll fall short. You're telling me collect more. Where does that money come from?
Thank you very much. You note that when you were finalizing the budget, they presented a number of tax measures to Parliament for approval. So that additional money is expected from majorly two strategies. One is improving efficiency of the revenue administration. In other words, you are blocking the leakages in the existing systems. But two, you are also improving the legal framework. And now those are the amendments that we are yet to share, I think, with the support of Siatini. Remind me the date. We're supposed to share the amendments with these stakeholders. I think it is the 26th, around 26th. So those are the sources of the additional revenue, regardless of the shortfalls that we are projecting this year. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could just turn off the microphone. Let me go to Angela. Angela, the minister on Thursday last week had a conclusion, I think, of about 13 points, where he located everybody's benefit from the budget as presented. The PSST has just done the same here, to say, if you're not in this budget, tell us why you're not there, which category you belong to, so that we can locate you. But the questions that arise up around marginalized groups, are you satisfied from where you sit with the allocation to women, children, youth, and other vulnerable groups?
Thank you. When the PS was listing priorities, his number one priority was investing in people. And investing in people is health, is education, is social protection. I restrained myself from putting up my hand because I knew I was going to have a chance on the panel, and I know the proceedings of this meeting are going to be recorded and forwarded to the relevant authorities. I saw a person that is missing out of the budget, and that person was Tata Akram. Everyone here is on social media. There's a video that has been trending of Tata Akram, who went to the daughter-in-law, the business owned by the son and the daughter-in-law, and was crying for them to take them to hospital. He has recently been diagnosed with prostate, and he does not have the money to go and have that surgery, because at the hospital they told him if they can do the surgery first, they can stop that cancer. Yes, but Tata Akram is looking for support from the children. And for me, in seeing Tata Akram, I see everyone here as a potential Tata Akram, not just the vulnerable people. We are talking about the marginalized groups. Because what we are seeing is every day on our WhatsApp groups, we are on many WhatsApp groups. There is no week that passes where people are not fundraising for hospital in the country and abroad. And why are we doing that? Is because we are still falling short of investing in people. If investing in people means something. And where we are going as a country is that there are people who are not going to have children, but also we are seeing a trend where people are going to work all their lives, and at the end of the day, there is no support that is coming from government in terms of social protection. So what is in it in this budget for the people, the vulnerable? I have seen, I don't want to go into the figures that have been mentioned around the income generating portfolios that have been put aside to support household incomes. But let me just talk about education, because we know a child today a productivity throughout the life cycle. What does that mean? It means that the education outcomes are still low. And why are they still low? Yes, when you see in the budget, we have allocated 4 billion to grant aid 38 primary schools. And the grant aiding means that there is a community school somewhere and government is taking it over. They are going to pay salaries for teachers. That is very good. It is increasing access. They are also grant aiding schools at the secondary level, but also building seed secondary schools to be able to increase access. But still, we see that there is still a big gap in what is existing. When you look at what the education sub-program was asking for, we have 200 primary schools implementing universal primary education that are really in a bad, that was supposed to be given 100 billion, but that money is not available in the budget, and 40% of those primary schools are in a very bad shape. Those are the schools you see on social media, you know, when it rains, the children are going to die. Those are the schools where the poor take their children. Those are the schools where people living on islands, the marginalized, take their children. So if there is no money to renovate them, those children also lose interest because they do not, it is raining now, and when it rains, they don't go to school because it is dangerous for them. So if there is no money for such things, I think the ordinary person is left out.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll come back to you in a moment. Let me first go to Mbazira. Robert. From where you sit at Ernst & Young, how can government optimize spending of the limited resources to achieve the intended outcomes? The PSST said something that kind of intrigued me. It said, we are not using borrowed money to buy vehicles. We are not using borrowed money to entertainment, travel, and other stuff. And I was wondering, we had some use that to drink a beer, but then we borrow for the essentials that we need. Does it make a difference? Can't the government look at its own resources to deal with the things that it needs to deal with, especially infrastructure development, those heavy investments, instead of looking and saying, no, we're comfortable, we can borrow?
Thank you, Charles. I think I'll just respond with two answers, and I'll keep it simple. One is about living within our means, which almost everyone has talked about. And I wanted to bring it at your home. Look at your incomes, look at your expenses. Government income is what they're going to get from URA and the non-tax revenue. Now, government is projecting that its revenues will grow by 7%. But it is also projecting in the budget that its expenditure is going to grow by 12.7%, around there. Now, related to your home, are you telling me that you'll be able to survive without borrowing? Probably not. So what government has got to do, first of all, it has got to be so deliberate in bringing down the expenditure. The PSST has already told us that they are deliberate means, and we do appreciate that. But there is still a window where we can bring down those expenses. And some of them are live examples. For example, look at we know very well that government usually, except for a few institutions, it works from Monday to Friday. But you'll find a double cabin, a pickup, on Sunday carrying sand. Already the wear and tear is going to increase. That means more maintenance costs. And that, of course, would lead to an increase in the government's budget. So government has, and the other is about, and please do not quote me because I don't want to go political. You are saying that you are rationalizing government institutions in trying to bring down the expenditure, which is really a good thing. But at the same point, you are bringing in assistant RDCs. I don't know so much. I don't know who the assistant RDC would be reporting to, either the deputy, because I know already in the structure there is a deputy RDC and there is an RDC. So there is -1, but +1. So we end up moving, but not moving. But I appreciate that the fact that government is making some efforts in trying to bring down the... But here we have got to be deliberate. Look at it this way. And Julius did present to us. We know very well that the Tanzanian economy is bigger than the Ugandan economy. But doesn't it surprise you that our budget is now bigger than the Tanzanian economy? That already shows you that probably we are spending much more, yet ordinarily we need to be frugal. We need to be deliberate when it comes to government expenditure. But the other is probably around corruption, which almost everyone has talked about. Ladies and gentlemen, the IGG report puts it clearly that on a yearly basis, we lose close to 10 trillion in corruption. How much is recovered? Less than 1 trillion shillings. For your information, if your total budget is 72 trillion, 10 trillion is already more than 10%, which is close to 14%. That already shows you that we are almost losing more than 10%. But remember, in paying back interest, we are projecting to pay around 9-point-something trillion. That means that the money that we are losing in corruption, we would actually use it to pay interest. So I think government needs to do more. I know they have done something, but it needs to do more. And then the other is around domestic areas. And to me, this is an issue that I have at heart. Domestic areas, it is your relative, your friend, who has a company, partly, and is supplying to government. But government is unable to pay. That becomes an area. Now, What is in domestic areas? And when we talk about domestic areas, look at private sector. What is in domestic areas is 10 trillion, close to 10 trillion. What government has budgeted to pay is 200 billion, okay? That already, remember, when you sell to government, in your books, as a supplier, you are recognizing revenue. Come year end, come 30th June, you have got to pay taxes to the Revenue Authority. Now you supplied, you have not yet been paid, but you have 30% to pay. Already, in a way, private sector is struggling. But secondly, on the side of government, it then means because they are longer to pay. Also, to the government officials, they are put in a very hard place where negotiation becomes hard. If you're not good at making payments, negotiation becomes really hard. But then also the ripple effect to the economy is that because you delay to pay me, I'm going to employ less Ugandans. And when I employ less Ugandans, URA would get less pay and ultimately less VAT. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll come back to you on that debt question if I have an opportunity. But let me come to Josephat and Nwabin and ask, like we have seen in your advert here for the citizen feedback platform, you are the center of ensuring fiscal discipline because you're auditing all these agencies and asking them questions on how they're spending the money. I want to know your strategies to going beyond what we just showed us here to ensure that fiscal discipline you find all the audit that you do in every institution and you give us a report every other year, you give it to Parliament. We're asking questions here and there. Beyond that, what? Many people accuse you of doing a post-mortem. We need to save the person before they die so that you can do, we're not just relying on a post-mortem.
Thank you, Charles, and thank you, Sisbag, for this opportunity to engage in this kind of discussion. Auditor General usually, we are always at the back. We don't come out like this very much because our reports, we make them to Parliament. So you can see this is a step forward. So you're asking about the strategy. Actually, this is one of the strategies to engage the citizens because we have noted, you see, we undertake various types of audits. We do financial audits. Financial audits are just figures. Someone can get the money they have allocated, document it very well. I have done A, B, C, D, and the auditor, you come, the records are there, and then you tick and you issue a report. We call it unqualified report because the records and the figures are tying. Now, that's one. Two, we also do compliance audits. Compliance audits means the government, in allocating this budget, people are going to spend according to laws and regulations. You have the Public Finance Management Act, you have various acts guiding institutions, you have the laws issued by the Accountant General, Treasury Accounting Instructions, all those we check. And you can check someone has complied and you issue a report because the compliance is there. Then you have not seen, after the compliance, what has happened. Now, we do also value for money audits, but value for money audits really, when you undertake them, they are for finding out, it's kind of a research. We have these resources, we have these policies in place, and therefore these resources which are being utilized according to these policies, the level of efficiency, are people getting what they are supposed to get, value for money. But and other audits now, having looked at all those, we have sat back and said, but actually I can inform you that for the last 24 years I was doing audits. But when you audit and you write a report, you are very happy. It's a technical thing. It's the way technical, the way you can cook food and say this food tastes good. But if you're in a restaurant and people are not eating, it doesn't make sense. So our strategy now is to come to the citizens and ask them to participate in our audit process. The audit process involves prior which has been allocated, the citizen has received what was allocated in that budget.
Is this the plan around the CFP?
Yes, this is the biggest strategy because the CFP will reach out to anyone who has an issue to bring it to the attention of the Auditor General. Now, these issues which come through the Citizens Feedback Platform may be audit issues, may be non-audit issues. Because you see, the level of awareness in terms of the society, what the Auditor General does may not be very clear. We have received issues where someone says, my cows were stolen and all that. Maybe it's a police case, but it comes to Auditor General. But we shall pick all those issues and receive them, and I'll inform you that we have, at the national level, we have interagency forum. So don't say, when I receive an issue, it's not an audit issue, it will die. No. So PPDA, police, but we think this platform will help the Auditor General to go a step further to answer questions that are being raised by the citizens, because when we audit, then, I mean, it has been an outcry. I hear it a lot, even in civil society organizations. The Auditor General has issued a report, but we see this happening. Or, this place was audited, but how was it audited? Where is the Auditor General? But now when you tell us in advance, then when we are undertaking the audit, we incorporate in our plan so that when we are reporting to Parliament, because it is Parliament which receives our report, take action, all those issues will be captured and can be reported on, and we hope it will improve really the way resources are utilized by the implementers.
Thank you very much. I'll take a few comments or questions from the audience. Quick ones. Yes, sir. Please keep it straight and simple. Then I'll come to you, sir. Can I have someone bring a microphone around here, please? I need at least 2 people with microphones to help. Thank you. Keep it straight, simple, and indicate who you want to ask or to respond to you. Can you help get this thing to work?
Oh, it works. I am Patrick Katawazi from the Center for Budget and Tax Policy. My question goes to Ministry of Finance. We were told, and this was in the place, and also this is what the ST has been saying, about indiscipline within the budgeting processes at Parliament, where it is believed that about 750 billion was cut from the budget for treasury operations. And my question is, How are you going to implement the budget in light of that development? But also number two, how are you going to ensure going forward that that indiscipline does not happen in parliamentary processes? Because we know that Ministry of Finance does take a very key role in the budgeting processes and would rather be at the forefront of negotiation rather than allowing some of these things to pass. The last one is a comment on to Angela. Thank you very much for highlighting the issue of social protection. It is very important for the development of this country, but we also want to highlight the fact that the vulnerable people of this country actually get affected by these budgets that we are talking about. The budget has shot up to 72 trillion, but the particular budget lines for persons who are vulnerable has instead declined. A few examples: older persons under SAGE, the budget was 121 billion for this current financial year. Next financial year, it was cut by 20 billion, it is 100. For persons with disabilities, budget of 15, they got 8 billion. The persons, the older person, the money for investments for older persons, which was 5 billion, now it is going to be 3 billion. That's an example how our budgets are also equally vulnerable, even when our budgets are going up. It is something that I think Minister of Finance needs to fix. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I have the gentleman behind you? Yes, I'll come to you, sir.
Thank you so much, the panelists. My name is George Oto, and from Pader District. I have one question and one comment. The first question is about the category of people who are not inclusive, not mentioned in the budget. For example, the category in the age bracket above 30 years and below 60. These are also productive people, but I also feel that they should have also been allocated some resources. If we look at the mental health problems in this country, which stands at 14 million people, that's about 30% of the population of the country. Most of the people who are affected falls actually under this category. People committing suicide and so on and so forth. They fall under that category of people. My comment is about the people to participate in this kind of event. It is good we have the OAG. This is an accountability institution, but it would also be good to have the Inspectorate of Government, the OPM, and then PPDA. These are the accountability institutions that could also give another insights about accountability. They also perform audits. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The gentleman there.
Okay. Thank you very much, moderator. I'm called Edward Natamba, and I come from Ntungamo. I'm a CS Bag champion. My concern, actually my question goes to Minister of Finance. Because I've participated in some regional budget conferences where local government leaders are complaining, and to me I think even if we dash of money, we put a road component of implementation, becomes a challenge. Why is it? There is a problem of these projects that are awarded from central government. In Ntungamo, we have a road that has been stale for over 5 years. Eastmaid program, on Eastmaid program. The road is like 1.5 kilometers in town. It has never been finished. And it becomes a challenge, which means that even the money that we allocate to do such roads, sometimes they are misused. 2, we have issue of water. Right now in Ntungamo, actually when I'm talking, let me use even municipality, because when I talk of Rohama, where my elder brother Josephat comes from, you may think it is very far. In Ntungamo, actually we have 23 villages in the municipality, but most of them, they don't have piped water.
and the discussants for the questions. Yes, I'll start with the John Padel. The question is, how does the budget cater for the age bracket 30 to 60 years? Actually, these are economically active people. And all of the programs that we are talking about are looking at this category here. What only differs is under which social class do you fall. Like you had the PST saying, PDM is not for us here. It is for the wananchi here. Now those wananchi there are falling in one of these brackets. I was looking at UWEP. UWEP was saying that the women that qualify for that grant must be aged 18 to 79 years. UWEP, Uganda Women Empowerment Project. We have GROW, still targeting the women. I think that one doesn't have age restriction. It only has restrictions on the enterprises. When I talk about Invite, which they said is going to support people who are adding value to our agro products and then export, doesn't have age bracket. So ideally what we need to do is to establish what is required for that person to benefit, then we prepare them. That's why, in a collaboration with the Private Sector Foundation, we have organized a dialogue, this kind of dialogue, to share the guidelines on how to use or to access most of those grants. We are going to invite Uganda Development Bank, which has some money for value addition. We are going to invite Ministry of Gender. It has about 3 grants, which it is managing, YLP UWEP, and then Youth Venture Capital. We are going to invite Microfinance Support Center. It has some money in there, including a Myoga, so that they tell the people what they have, how they should prepare for them, so that they prepare and benefit. So ideally, the budget caters for this bracket. The only gap is preparedness. And for us to ensure they are well prepared is to avail them with information. And that's what these partners are helping us to do, to share the relevant information with all the beneficiaries so that they adequately prepare to seize the opportunities in the budget. The next question was on I had moved backwards when I was looking for UWEP. The next question was on from Edward about why some of the central government centrally awarded projects delay. Majorly, you know, that challenge was pointed out by CS, in the paper by CS Bag. The first bottleneck is right of way. Right of way is a very serious concern, and even it has affected even the greater Kampala project. Initially, it appeared as if it was not going to be a thorn in the shoe, but as of now, we observe that yes, somebody may have given me free access, but when I excavate the reserve where somebody maybe has put pavements, so pavers, after doing whatever I want to do, I have to redo, which is a cost. So one is right of way. 2 is, let me tell you, one of the major challenges we have, doctoring documents. A contractor, you know, when we are awarding these contracts, we ask somebody to present evidence that you are financially stable. And they will present, but some of them give us doctored statements which paint a rosy picture of the financial well-being. Then, but the law is saying, when I get the contract, I pay you 30%. We normally call it advance. Now you give him the 30%. He starts to implement. On assumption that after that takeoff, he'll pick from the reserve. I only wait for certificates. Now majority fail to access credit. Their credit worthiness has been dented that they can't run to the bank. So they end up missing the timelines that we give them. The other one is on procurement issues. There are normally delays, yes, we appreciate. But then we endeavor to, like for Wismid in particular, in the previous years, we used to delay to revote. That happened some time back. But this time around, we prioritized all unspent balances for those grants. U-Gift, Wismid, Dr. Deep, to mention but a few, under the 3%. So by Q1, that money was there. So please follow up. The money that was unspent by 30th June last year was revoted by July. Those people have the money. It was covered within the 3%. So follow up with the leaders and ensure that the contractors are doing what they are expected of. The other concern was on the water coverage. The water coverage, yes, we note your outcry. You have 23 villages with no pipe to water. We shall escalate to the agencies. But there's one prayer that we need to share amongst ourselves. You know, the timing is the major concern. When we invite you for these regional consultative meetings, please escalate some of these issues, bring them out, because right now I can only capture it as a priority for 25, 26. So whenever we invite you for these planning meetings, and we are starting in September, please endeavor to lobby through your leaders so that they push these priorities through the processes and we have them taken care of. Somebody asked about the budget that was tampered with. How are we going to implement it? The budget which was tampered with. Discussions are underway with the HE, the president, on how to go about that. Ideally, what the law requires is that if Parliament has a priority that it feels should be prioritized, it has to go back to the HE, present, they agree. If he says okay, then it comes back into the budget. But where they don't go back, then we engage. Once he consents, if he says, okay, leave the reallocation to move as they are, then we have to also agree on how to bridge the gap. So discussions are underway, and rest assured that will be handled. There was a concern on the reduction, I think, on the budget for SAGE, PWDs, and the older persons. Yes, we had provided money for those categories. You know, under this program-based approach to planning and budgeting, we have a program called community mobilization. Then we have a program called human capital development. Now, all of these categories, the budget for these categories fall under human capital. However, when the legislators saw this budget under human capital, they assumed it was a duplication because they believed that budget should have been under community mobilization. So they reallocated that money to other areas. So, but don't you worry, the money for SAGE, the PWDs, and the older persons shall be provided during execution. What measures to stop the indiscipline? Dear participants and the moderator, effective this financial year, you know what the gap has been? We've never had prior engagements with the three arms of government before the budgeting process. But effective this financial year, the three arms of government, that is judiciary, executive, and legislature, are required to convene strategic planning meetings so that everybody airs out what he or she feels should be prioritized in the budget so that we move together. The challenge that has been there was we would start the consultative processes, but we don't effectively engage these three parties. Now, they come in at the tail end, and by the time we reach at the budget estimate level, most of the resources have been committed. So the only source of funding is repurposing. So, moving forward, there shall be to pick their priorities. All of those things are taken care of. Nonetheless,
will that end the
repurposing?
Will that end your appetite for supplementary budgeting? Because we expect that as soon as now that the budget has been read, begins implementation next month, within a week you will be making supplementary applications.
Okay. It may not end supplementary allocations, but it may end the components of that some components of that supplementary. Because remember, the supplementary is provided for unforeseen and avoidable. But there are circumstances where you find components which don't meet those two parameters. So ideally, this engagement is going to minimize the foreseeables in the budget. And then we shall only handle the unforeseen.
Thank you.
And unavoidable.
Thank you. Let me run around the panel. Each one of you, I'll give you a minute. Angela, you have specific questions to comments to respond to. I'm interested, Auditor General, in the 10 trillion, the money lost to corruption. And then,
Charles, before Auditor General comes in, I wanted to say something.
Yes, I'm coming to you first, then I'll come to Auditor General and end with Robert. I'm giving each one of you 1 minute, so I'm starting with you.
I think I feel marginalized.
Huh?
I just feel marginalized. I don't know whether it is.
I can't avoid it because the time is doing me bad. Please.
I think for me the most important thing is that when Julius was presenting here, he mentioned something about budgeting for corruption. And what Auditor General is dealing with is like the normal corruption. But we have a very big problem around legalized corruption. We are making corruption legal, and that is what Parliament is doing, and other agencies are copying. And when we have, example is the emoluments, where you're having someone in different positions and they are picking from the consolidated fund that money, and because it is legal, everyone is saying it is okay. And for me, that layer is something that we need to tackle. Because we even have people who are picking emoluments, but now they are made presidential advisors. And why I'm bringing this up is that what is the impact of that? The impact of that is that services are not going to reach to the marginalized and the most vulnerable. And when that is the status quo, you're also going to have apathy in tax collection because you're talking about widening the tax base. But how are people going to give you money when they are seeing that your expenditure does not make sense? Because what we need to understand is that when something is legal, is that reasonable law? It doesn't make it right. So I think we need to go back and change some of these laws around emoluments and how people can pick money from the consolidated fund. And because it is in the law, we have been changing laws, and we can still change laws. We have even tampered with the Constitution. I think that has to change if we are serious around cutting down government expenditure. When you look at the whole budget, the money that is allocated to health, education, social protection combined is it can't even match what is you're paying in debt servicing. And what is the impact of that? It is the lowest person that is going to suffer. So for me, I think we need to change the terms of engagement, but we need to engage in some kind, we need to put pressure on government to do some kind of legal reform to be able to change, especially that law where, you know, this one person is picking money from the consolidated fund, you know, different pots. It doesn't make sense at all, and people are not going to be happy paying taxes. It is very wrong, and we need to change it. That law has to change. Otherwise, we are sitting here people have to borrow to, in Uganda, 30% of the population borrows to pay school fees. Is that right that people are borrowing to pay school fees? But also UBOS has told us that 6 out of 10 persons that drop out of school is because of tuition. Because of the limited investment in education, people cannot afford, so private actors have to come in, and when they come in, their first thing is about profit. But are you going to leave education to private actors? No, they can exist, but government has that responsibility. And this is going to drive inequality. As long as the investment in education is limited, it is going to drive inequality. And those children who are falling through the cracks will never catch up to their peers in the life cycle. I think that is very important.
Thank you very much. Auditor General?
Moderator, I have some feedback to share.
Yes, let me just pick from the Auditor General, Mr. Mbazira there.
What's the question again? Charles, what's the question again?
There was a question about the money we lose, the 10 trillion that the IG has captured as money we lose to corruption,
okay.
And how you're able to capture it.
I think you are referring to money recovered by the IGG.
No, the IGG's report has said that we lose about 10 trillion.
The loss?
Yes, the loss, and we only recover about $1 trillion. I think one of the gentlemen who asked a question raised that.
Yes, the loss due to corruption is, I think it's real. And for us, the audit processes, we have, in audit we have what we call, the biggest challenge we have in doing our audits is collusion. When people collude to be architects of corruption, and they hide until they come out, at times even the audit process may not be able to find out that there is that extent. So there is collusion, and that's why we are coming out to everyone to open our eyes, because it is not a one person's fight. The fight against corruption actually is for everyone. That's what has been said. So it's about opening our eyes. Auditing can audit and fail to detect that loss. That one I can tell you. Because people have colluded. You have heard of the collusion beginning from the budget up to the spending. Now, it may come out that way until it comes out in another way. The audit process can fail to detect that loss. And, but we rely on, again, information from people like you. Because that's why we are coming out to you to say, please, where we have failed, can you support us? Where, because these things are done, when you go to these ministries and these agencies, where those losses are occurring, there are people who know, but they don't want to say. So when you come as the auditor, they leave you. They sit in the corner and watch. Now, definitely we have discovered a lot of losses, financial. If we give you our reports, I think I've discovered, I think last financial we had about 50-something billion we reported. But people sit and wait for you to discover. So that's why I'm coming to say, don't wait to see, is this man with his procedures, will he discover everything? And you sit back and watch.
Is that an indication of acceptance of corruption as normal? Is it an indication of lack of trust in the institutions that are supposed to fight corruption?
Not really, not lack of trust as such, but we are saying that corruption, where people have colluded to become corrupt, it becomes a challenge even to an institution that is fighting corruption. Because there is that kind of, people have worked on a mechanism that will make you fail. That's why you see, even in security, we have security everywhere. But where people have hatched a process to evade, go and steal, go and kill, they do it. Nobody is interested in loss of human life. I'm sure they are there to protect, but because people have gone beyond what you think they can do.
Thank you. Robert, you have a quick comment, and then Ali will close.
Thank you, Charles. I think my closing part would be to the solution that we need to come up with as Uganda is basically to increase our revenue collections. Because when you look at our budget, it is funded in 3 ways. 1, money that government would have earned. 2, Buyambi grant. 3, borrowing. Already, every Ugandan is almost complaining that the cost of servicing the debt is so high. But then also, we have had, and we know the implication of domestic borrowing. That means that the only function that we can significantly control and touch is revenue mobilization. Already when you look at the statistics, it shows you that Uganda, tax to GDP, so to say, out of the money that everyone in this room has, every Ugandan, from either a good or service, that is GDP. Out of 100, URA takes 13.6. But when you look at Kenya, they are taking over 18%. And when you look at Tanzania, it's over 15%. That is a very small percentage. But now, in determining to say that that the debt is sustainable, government looks at GDP. GDP is money in everyone's pocket here. It is not government money. To say we still have some headroom. My view would be we need to actually focus more on the incomes. Because, Charles, when you borrow, you use your income to repay. Now, when you look at, allow me just to analyze for you. URA expects to collect 32 trillion. Out of 32, Minister of Finance says we shall use 28 to fund the expenditure. Okay? That means that you are left with 4. You're going to pay interest of 9. Okay? The question is, how are you going to pay that interest? Partly, you will use the 4, which is the balance. But remember we said in the equation, you beg for Buyambi or you borrow. That means that the other 5, you have got to look for an option to fund it. Okay? Which means that we shall continue being in that cycle. Which means that the ultimate solution is to increase the revenue. How? Increase the base. In increasing the base, I like something which Kenya has introduced in their budget this year. And that is around their advanced pricing agreements. Someone did comment about commercial banks, most of them being foreign, which is right. And actually, it was you, Charles. But when you look at these multinationals, what they basically do is to erode the base through management fees, IT, among other things. Now, with advanced pricing agreements, you basically go into to agree with them in advance, to say, we either agree to that percentage or not. 2 things are happening. 1, you're going to reduce on the fatigue that these companies go through in terms of audits. But then also number 2, there is assured revenue. Government also needs to go for the low-hanging fruits. Let me end with this. I imagine I'm over-talking.
Thank you.
What I'm ending with, Charles, is around picking the low-hanging fruits. Members, just imagine how many border-borders are in this economy. All those border-borders have number plates for which URA knows the owners. Do the owners of those border-borders, leave alone the riders, do the owners pay tax? Go to the taxis. There is advance tax in the law. Do they? Each seat is supposed to go for 20K. Each seat has advance tax. So that actually shows you that we have so much in hanging fruits that we need to pick. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. I won't go into that debate because I know a little bit, one or two things about the border sector, which we'll not go into now. I'm not sure they need to be paying that 700,000 for a new number plate. You'll chase all those guys out of business here, and they are selling off their pieces of land to buy the borders. Ali, you have the last word. I'll give you 30 seconds.
Thank you, moderator. My co-panelists and the audience. I just have a few things to throw more light on. Number one is his last submission on us ensuring that we increase domestic revenue. Actually, you heard the PS talk about the tenfold. The major argument around that strategy is exactly what you are talking about. Because if you've listened to the president, he has always said, Uganda Revenue Authority, I don't believe you have maximized the potential. There is a lot that we need to be done. That's why he said, I want you to come up with a strategy which can see us in the next 10 or 15 years having a GDP of 550 billion USD. And all what is looking at is increasing the denominator for the revenue, because revenue is a percentage of GDP. So that's the purpose of the tenfold agenda majorly, so that we stop to depend on externally borrowed resources. Two, one of our discussants raised the issue, actually he was the same person who raised the issue of domestic arrears. Dear participants, the major omission that has been facing this area in terms of the planning was planning for arrears as secondary expenditure need. But when we were designing the NDP4 medium-term expenditure framework, arrears were given a first call. In other words, if we have 10 billion for a given year, what we want to first pluck out of that 10 is the obligation for arrears, so that whatever we are disputing is less that component. Now, what the practice has been, you first give out, then the calito which remains, you say, okay, let me put the 200. But come NDP4 period, the framework which we have designed first pulls out arrears, pulls out the wage, so you get only what is rather enough to do new things. Otherwise, we accept that this time around, there has been an omission that they have been coming in as secondary needs. But moving forward, there will be primary expenditure needs.
Thank you.
There was an issue of the Tata who?
Tata Akram.
Tata Akram. Yes, government is cognizant of that. And in so doing, we have planned to establish regional cancer centers.
Have you seen the video?
Yes.
Have you seen the Tata Akram video?
I have not seen the video.
Angela should share it with you.
Yes, you share, and then we...
Thank you.
We are planning for regional cancer centers, and right now, negotiations are underway for two. One in northern and another in eastern Uganda.
Okay.
And
thank you very much.
Services will be at affordable rates.
Thank you very much. Can you join me to thank our panelists? Can I thank all of you for your patience, and then we close this. We've really overshot our time. Let me request Dr. Arthur Bainomidshah to come and make some closing remarks, and then invite Francis Odokorach, and we close this. Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you very much. Robert, thank you very much. Josephat, and thank you very much, Ali. Thank you.
Another round of applause to our panelists. I know you are tired, but we can do better. Another round of applause to Mr. Charles Wangusia Mpaji. Thank you for keeping us well and lively. Ladies and gentlemen, my job is simple. I can see your faces very tired, but you are the vanguard of this nation. Those who have braved are the vanguard of this nation ready to move and turn this country around. So clap for yourselves. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to stand in your way. My job was to do a wrap-up. I don't have much time. It has been very clear here. I hope we have a rapporteur. Richard, can you stand up? Richard Ayesiga? Yes, Richard Ayesiga has been capturing all the discussions. The wrap-up would have been the recommendations. They have been done. But I think in the summary, we must raise money to fund our own budget. As a country, we cannot be a nation state if we can't fund ourselves. So we have to raise money, local resource mobilization. We cannot depend on donor aid, on foreign aid as a right. Thank you very much. So it is now my single honor and privilege, ladies and gentlemen, to invite Mr. Francis Shante Odrak, the country director, Oxfam, who has been here attentively listening to us, who actually has also made it possible to contribute to the organizing of this meeting, to come and close our meeting. You are welcome, Francis.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Odokorach. I know that Doctor, from where he's coming from, he does not eat kalo and the other thing. So unless you can eat konkal, you cannot pronounce Odokorach. And Odokorach actually means things have become bad. Now, don't ask me what had really gone wrong, because I think what has happened here just today has been profoundly successful, and my job here is just to extend a few words of appreciation to all of us that are here. But before I would do that, I think it's very important that I just mentioned 2-3 things. One, for us as Oxfam, our main interest is really in Uganda is to ensure we can address the issues of inequality and injustice. And there is no better way in which we can engage and transform the economy of this country to make it inclusive and accountable. And I'm using the words of the PSST that has said that this budget of this year is inclusive and it is accountable. So this is one of the ways in which we can contribute more positively to the transformation of this economy. And I am hoping that Tata Akram and all the rest will be addressed through those budgeting processes. We're very glad to continue to partner with national, local, and other international organizations in Uganda, and we are so proud, to always work with the organizations such as Acode and CSBAG, CIATINI, Center for Budget and Tax, and many others that we have been always engaging to ensure that the citizens who are really the backbone of this economy can also engage in these processes. I have learned so many things today, and one of those that I've learned from the permanent secretary is that we should stop talking about problem statement first. We need to talk about solution statements and opportunities. And I'm thinking that he's almost forgetting and moving towards, for us who are in the community development and many other things, forgetting the economics are moving. So I think there's a lot of it that can work, and we can all work together. So I'm really pleased to hear that. I've also heard that there's a lot of progress that is happening in this country. There's a lot of transformation. The power issues is very important. I'm not talking about the other powers. I'm talking about the powers that happens in terms of how we can hold each other to account and also accept to be held to account. And that citizens can engage in the budget process, monitor and engage the leaders so that we can learn some of the ways in which people are using our resources. I completely agree with you, Dr. Arthur, that unless we can domestically resource our budget, it is very unlikely that we can reach and remain in the promised land. You can reach there and come back very quickly. So to do that, you need all the citizens to engage. And there was also a question like, how can we all engage and take part in this budget? Does it also include me? Mr. Julius Mukunda, it was very clear that Emyoga and all the other, kind of things does not, the PDM and all the others are not for you. So you are already sorted, but for the other people, which is very important. And I'm hoping that that will be the way to go. I will just take a few appreciation, and you just give me 2 minutes. I want to extend my deepest appreciation to the PSST, Ramadan Gobi, because of the engagement he has given us. We know that he's such a very busy man, but the amount of hours he has given us, I am thinking he's going to work until midnight or past midnight because he has overshot his time. But for us in the civil society, we are again consoled that he has not forgotten us and that he has recognized the role that we can play in ensuring that we can have such an inclusive and transformative budget that can help the economies, especially in the global south, to also catch up and be able to address the issues that we normally grapple with. Also, in a very special way, allow me to use this opportunity to extend deep appreciation to all the panel members. Let's give them a big round of applause. In a special way, let me appreciate Angela, because without her, I think I would not have been very pleased with our colleagues that have organized this function, because for us, we are feminists. And if we don't have the voices, but I can assure you, even if she was alone, her voice was very clear. I want to also appreciate all the government ministries and agencies that were represented here and those that were not here. Thank you so much for continuing to partner with us, because without you, we cannot have any impact. On our own is not possible. We are only supplementing or contributing towards what actually the government has to do, but because this is our country and that's the place that we call home, we have to do it because it's also a global village that we are living in, and therefore it's very important. Now allow me to take this opportunity to extend the appreciation to all the civil society actors that are here. I have heard that several people have traveled from far and wide up in Lamore and many other places, in Tungamo and other places. Thank you so much for coming here and being with us. It means a lot. And I know that the leaders in the civil society sectors, I can't mention all the names. Julius, you've always been, the voice around Arthur and all the others. And also I'm not forgetting Honorable David Pulkol. I know you're still there. I know you from way back when I was still much younger, and you are still younger as well. We are progressing, I'll not catch you, but we'll keep going. And I know that the role that you continue to play, we cannot appreciate enough, and to all the leaders in the civil societies that are here. Also the private sectors, because this economy, without the private sectors who are responsive and responsible and accountable, it is very difficult. And the active citizens that have been here, the media, thank you so much, and I hope that that has gone out far and wide. I'm not going to forget two other people. Charles, you are a media person, but every time we have this kind of engagement, you've been there for us. Guys, let's give him a big round of applause. And finally, the organizers of this event. Some of them are seated right there behind and everywhere. Thank you so much for making this so successful, and to all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the organizers and on the behalf of all the people who have contributed and of all the participants to declare this meeting closed until the next time when we engage. But remember one thing, before you clap, remember one thing. Engage, engage, and engage. Thank you so much.